I'm going to show you how to do the sequence part of the lover bodysuit today. First, a little bit about the supplies. I've got flat sequins with the holes at the top. You can get sequins with the holes in the center of the top. You're going to want a top punch hole. I've got peacock blue, iridescent, and what was this one called? Orchid pink. I've got the blue in two different sizes, 10 and 8 millimeter, and then these two are both in 8 millimeter. I like the bigger ones for the blue for the very bottom of the suit, and I'm going to use the smaller ones up top here, as you can see. Because the colors are so stark, okay, throw them everywhere. What you end up doing is using one of the iridescent with one of the solid colors together, and you'll get a muted color or two sequins together. You know what I mean? You'll get the main color, or you'll get the muted one, or just the iridescent. It's a nice effect. I guess that's basically it. So as far as equipment goes, I use Singer nylon thread. It's like a really fine fishing line. It's different than using normal thread, and it does not show up, which is good and bad. And the good side, you can stitch right across this and be as messy as you want to be, and no one will see it. Like, you can't see any of my stitches on that, and they're all over the place. On the bad side, it's really hard to thread the needle, and when you are stitching, you can't see your own stitches a lot of the time. So, you know, good and bad, but I find overall it's the best for this kind of project. I do recommend using regular sewing needles rather than beading needles. Beading needles are longer, much finer, and have a finer head, which is great for when you're using seed beads. I'm not using seed beads on this. There's no need for a beading needle. Also, where you're going to get through the layer of spandex and lining, it's better to have a more durable needle like this. So that's what I use. So I've got this threaded already with just a knot in one end. Usually I like to double up thread when I'm doing any kind of beadwork. But for this, I find that this loops over and knots to itself so much that it's just such a hassle. And where it is like a fishing line, it's actually a lot stronger for something like this. So it's fine to just use the single layer. So I start my knots on top for this, because as I said, you really can't see that. I'm autistic and I have all kinds of sensory issues, and just that kind of filament against the skin is really annoying. So I like to keep the knots on this side of the fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up one of the 10s of the blue and one of the iridescents. Now I put this down and came up where I want to put my first set of rhymes or sequins. So let those come in close to where you want to be. Hold them a couple millimeters away from your actual stitch, and then run another stitch into the spandex and out. Now note I'm pulling the spandex out, like the garment out. You want to have it stretched as you sew it, just so that it will stretch. Like, you don't want to be breaking stitches when you're wearing it. So now that you've got that stitch out, I like to take one more stitch into the sequins. Again, holding it, so basically it's loose, it's forming a bit of a loop there. I know you can't really see it, but trust me, there's a loop. Back into this, and then what I'm going to do is catch my needle through that loop to form a knot at the base there. Now that I have that knot, I'm going to knot one time right on top of it. And then you've got this kind of loose sequin that'll just flit about, and it's fine. So from there, I like to take a few stitches just kind of over the surface of the bodysuit. Again, you won't see any of this. And just keep everything nice and loose. And here's where we run into, this is why I like not doubling it, just because it can catch on everything. So now I've come up where I want it. You can take another knot, like just before you start out here, for extra security. The nice thing about knotting between any of your stitches, sorry, is that if you do break a seam, it won't be catastrophic. You won't lose all of your things or all of your sequins or need to restitch anything. You'll just lose whatever one might be attached to where it broke. So again, I just put that down, get those lined up. Form that loop. Take another shallow stitch there. Just gonna catch it for one knot. And not on the surface. Now you can cut these out between, you can cut your thread between each one if you don't want to have the stitching across, but again, this has stitching all the way, and as you can see, it's totally functional, good stretch. You can't see any stitches, so I just leave it. So what I'm going to do is sew these little sets of 2 sequins randomly up here. I went a little bit too thick in this area. This is more close to what she actually has on her outfit. And then I go into the pink, and then it's going to be just iridescent, which follows a line up like the section up here and kind of meshes in with the sequins at the top. It's a lot of work. I kind of missed the rhinestoning at this point, but we're this far. I'll keep going and have lots of fun with yours. We'll see you on the blog with the full tutorial.